Leonardo was 18 years old, technically a legal adult, but seated in the special needs section of a commercial plane, dressed in gray sweatpants with a noticeable puff around the hips and a worried, blank expression. He didn't feel very adult. He didn't look it either. His mom, Valerie, had made sure of that, having changed him right before boarding into what she politely called his protection. "It's not a diaper," she hissed at the gate agent who gave her the look. "It's a pull-up. There's a difference." There really wasn't. They'd requested the comfort row for passengers with disabilities, and the airline obliged with a 3-seat row by the window. Leonardo took the window seat. Not because he wanted to see the sky, he didn't even seem to know what sky was anymore, but because that made it harder for him to wander off. He was prone to wandering now. That, and wetting himself at the worst possible moments. An older businessman sat in front of them. He had a briefcase, reading glasses, and no clue what was about to happen to his back. Leonardo, perhaps bored, perhaps simply responding to internal chaos, began gently thudding his socked foot against the seat in front of him. Then a little harder. Then again. And again. The man turned. "Excuse me, can you not?" Valerie didn't even flinch. She smiled tightly. "He's very special." The man stared at Leonardo, who was now chewing on a mitten, and muttered, "Oh, sorry." Then, inexplicably, as if trying to apologize to fate itself, he pulled a wrapped peppermint from his pocket and handed it to Leonardo over the seat. Leonardo grabbed it, examined it like it was alien technology, then licked it with wide, slobbery strokes, wrapper still fully on. The man turned back around and said nothing for the rest of the flight. A stewardess came over an hour in. Blonde hair pulled into a bun so tight it could slice steel. She knelt down in front of Leonardo with the fixed smile of a woman who has seen everything. "And what would you like to drink, sweetie? We have ginger ale or grape soda." Leonardo made a long, bubbly coo. Then he flapped his hands once, pointed toward the grape soda, and giggled with a sound that made the man in front audibly wince. "One grape soda coming up," she chirped, returning moments later not with a can but with a sippy cup. Apparently someone had prearranged this. Leonardo sucked it down like he was parched, dribbling purple trails down his chin onto the cartoon dinosaur on his bib. Yes, a bib. Valerie had insisted. "He'll drool and get sticky," she had explained. 30 minutes before landing, Leonardo froze. A look of dread passed over his face like a shadow crossing the sun. He shifted in his seat and let out a strained, involuntary grunt. Valerie looked at him. "Oh God, not again." She sniffed. It was again. The smell was thick, immediate, familiar. The businessman in front looked ill. The stewardess pretended not to notice. Valerie pulled out a changing mat from her bag. Leonardo groaned, not because he was embarrassed. He didn't know that word anymore, but because he hated being cold. The cold wipes, the cold air, the cold look in his mother's eyes as she did what had to be done. They arrived at the Value Motel at 10:45 p.m. The clerk didn't ask questions. The hallway smelled like bleach and cigarette ashes. Valerie laid out a plastic bed mat and stripped him down to a new tabbed diaper. No more pull-ups. "You leak too much in those," she muttered. "Big boy diapers from now on." He lay in the bed with his knees bent outward like a toddler, a pacifier clipped to his hoodie and a cartoon blanket over him. She even tucked in the corners. "I don't know what happened," she whispered, sitting beside him. "You were such a bright kid. I mean, spoiled. But who isn't at 18? Leonardo looked up at her, drooling slightly, eyes glassy. "You ruined it," she said. "You took that damn route and now look at you. Do you even know where you are?" He didn't. He farted softly in response. Her nose twitched. She turned out the light. The next morning, he was changed again. This time, she used gloves. She made oatmeal with tiny marshmallow dinosaurs and fed it to him in a high-sided plastic bowl. "You only eat the marshmallows," she said, sighing. "Figures." After dressing him in a jumper with reinforced snaps and a thick diaper underneath, they headed to the clinic. It looked more like a playroom than a doctor's office, except the people inside were full-grown adults. Some sat in oversized strollers, babbling and clapping. Others wore helmets. One man was finger-painting with his toes. A woman in a nurse uniform looked over the clipboard. Drug regression? Valerie nodded. Jungle root. Amazon. 1 dose. The nurse clicked her pen. Another one. The doctor, a tired man in his 50s, waved them in. He examined Leonardo with medical detachment, checked his eyes, his ears, reflexes, and took a moment to check the sag of his diaper. Has he had solid food recently? Number-only baby food and soft stuff. His throat reflex isn't safe anymore. The doctor sighed and folded his arms. It's permanent, I'm sorry. No cure? We're trying some experimental therapies, but nothing for his level of regression. He's nonverbal, fully incontinent, shows limited cognitive engagement. You'd be better off finding a care facility. Valerie didn't say a word. She nodded. She stood, adjusted the bag on her shoulder, and looked at Leonardo, who was now drooling on the floor, babbling to a shadow. Then she left, just walked out the front door, down the steps into her car, and drove off. The receptionist blinked. Ma'am? But the car was already gone. Leonardo was still humming when the officer found him, curled on the sidewalk, holding a stuffed elephant someone had handed him. You lost, buddy? The officer asked. Leonardo smiled and said, Bah. He was 18. Legally. But in every other way? Just another baby who didn't come back from the jungle. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Mommy Sarah's Story Time. If you enjoyed the stories, please support the channel by liking and subscribing. Remember, my channel is not monetized, and I write most of the content myself. On occasions when I don't, it's sourced through emails from trusted contacts. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. If you're able to, consider making a donation to support our channel. Your support means a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you.